Okay, so I had woken up early because Kato was lying on me, and I snapped awake and got up and had some a little bit of broth or tea and stuff, and I wrote some like journaling stuff of it's things that people say to you that you kind of remember that are negative things and they stay with you, and sometimes that stuff comes out when you're going through stuff, and you have to sort of get over it because it is in the past, and they may have not meant anything really bad, but it still sticks with you. And I was talking to somebody, and they said, the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. So I started writing, and this is what I wrote. The tree remembers. The tree remembers the bite of the axe. Even though old wounds heal, it leaves a scar. The tree shudders when it hears the thwack of an axe on its neighbor, a living, breathing thing. Shelter and shade for 100 years, whispering in the breeze, bending in the fierce winds, losing limbs, gone in an instant. To burn brightly in some man's fireplace, nothing left but an old stump in a forest, covered in moss, home to ants and beetles, giving life to mushrooms and slime molds, while its body has been burned, its ashes dumped in a slag pile at the edge of the forest where it once towered over that tiny, short-lived man. Here he comes again. The fluttering leaves whisper as a crow calls a warning to its brothers. Thwack! The old tree shudders. The axe forgets and moves on to the next tree. A young sapling, barely 40 years old, toppled in its prime. And another, and another. The old tree mourns her children. The axe strikes again and again until all that's left is an ugly field of stumps. The harsh sun bleaching them as the deer move away, seeking shelter under the trees left standing. The old tree remains, a chance burl growing on its side years before the man suckled at his mother's breast had grown hard and proved too much for the bite of the iron axe. Now it towered at the edge of the forest where once it had stood in the middle. Thwack! The old tree shudders. The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. So it is with harsh words. And it reminds me to be mindful of my words, because when people have said things to me, which I took in as putting me down, I recall that. And I try to not do that with other people. And sometimes I make mistakes and I mess up, and I might say something stupid off the cuff and be like, oh, why don't you just do this and do that and give advice and stuff. And it all comes from a well-meaning place, I'm sure. But when you say something to someone, remember, do you want to be the axe or the tree? I'd rather be the tree instead of the axe. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, use trees for whatever. I know, animals eat trees, and, like elephants will tear down trees to eat them and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just symbolic to me. And it's just words, something to help me get over it and move on. And that's all it is. If it means something to you, good. If not, take what you need and leave the rest. That's the motto of La Leche League, the breastfeeding group. They're nice people too. And I was like, oh, what if I'm not doing good enough? You know what? Take what you want and leave the rest. That's my motto.